Have you ever pondered what happens to a man when he loses all he values? What happens when you take away his voice, responses, and wrath, and leave him with nothing but silence? Do you know what the quiet does? It degrades him from the inside out. It consumes him alive, little by bit, until all that's left is an empty shell claiming to be human. And you're starting to look like that. See, people always believe that suffering is loud. They expect screaming, punches, and wrath. But the actual anguish, the genuine suffering, is silent. It rests in your chest like a lifeless weight, smothering you gradually. There is no response or emotion, only nothing. That's what is killing you. And the greatest part? That's precisely what they wanted. They took from you, didn't they? They took and took until there was nothing else to steal. And you, being the fool that you are, allowed them not because you were weak. No, that would be too simple. You let them because you assumed they would cease. Because you believed that if you remained quiet and did not fight back, they would be happy. But here's the thing. Folks like that, they never quit. They don't feel fulfilled. They keep stealing until you're reduced to a ghost in your own life. And when they finally look at you and see what's left, they don't feel bad. No, they are bored. You see, that's the joke, the terrible, horrible little joke that life keeps pulling on individuals like you. When you stop reacting and caring, they stop noticing you. You become invisible, like an old toy that has been discarded, forgotten, and left to rust in a dark corner where no one looks. And you're simply standing there watching the world go on without you. Tell me how that feels. How does it feel to know you were never more than a diversion for them? That when you stopped making noise, people stopped viewing you as a person. Hurts, doesn't it? Cuts deep because you've spent your entire life trying to be kind, and the type of person that others care about. But the fact is that they don't care. They never did. And who feigned to? They were simply utilizing you, emptying you, until you had nothing more to offer. Now you're a walking corpse. Not dead, but not quite alive. Simply existing, going through the days like a shadow, empty and hollow, with nothing left inside you but a silent kind of despair. And it is the worst type of death, the type that keeps you alive but destroys everything else. But here's the thing. The stillness and emptiness they put you into are not everlasting. No, it is a decision. You made your own jail because you thought it would be safer. Because you believed that if you shut off the world, stopped feeling, stopped caring, you wouldn't be harmed again. That may have been true for a time, but now it is killing you. And you have to make a decision. You either stay in that cage, wasting away and allowing them to win, or you burn it down completely. I understand you don't believe you have what it takes. You believe you are too far gone, shattered, and lost to ever return. But that's just another lie they told you. Because let me tell you something about folks like us. We never break. We bend, fracture, and fall apart, yes, but we do not break. No, we adapt. We learn. When we get back up, we are not the same fools they left behind. We are something else totally. You want to know what occurs when a man no longer cares about their approval? When will he quit wanting their approval? He gets dangerous, unpredictable. He quits following their rules and waiting for their consent. He ceases being the easy target, the safe bet, or the doormat, and now they don't know what to do with him. Do you want to know why they despise individuals like me? Why do they fear me? It isn't because I am violent. It isn't because I produce turmoil. It is because I do not give a damn. I do not desire their affection, acceptance, or sympathy. I don't allow their opinions influence me. And it scares them because the moment you stop relying on them, you regain control. That's what you need to do. You have to take it back. You must remind them who the heck they are dealing with. You must stop being silent and invisible, and stop allowing their negligence, treachery, and indifference to turn you into a corpse before your time. You're still here, right? You're still alive and standing. That shows you've still got fight in you. And I don't care how exhausted you are, how much it aches, or how much you want to disappear, you cannot give up. Not now. Not ever. Because the moment you quit up, they win. And I don't know about you, but I despise losing. Get up. Become furious. Become dangerous. Start living as if you had nothing to lose. Because when you stop worrying about their approval, affection, and affirmation, you will be free. And once you're free, let's just say the real fun begins. Do you believe they will come back if you wait long enough? Do you think they'll wake up and understand what they've done? How did they break you? How did they transform you into a hollow shell? Number, that day will never arrive. Because they do not look back. They do not reflect. They don't lie in bed at night thinking about you, revisiting the moments when they chopped you down or left you out in the cold. No. They sleep perfectly well as you sit there, choking on the quiet they left behind, hoping no, praying that perhaps, just maybe, they would feel something. But they will not. And the sooner you accept this, the sooner you can stop bleeding for those who will never cry for you. This world does not care about individuals like euthos who feel too much, give without thinking, love without boundaries, and believe in values such as loyalty, honesty, and decency. No, no. This world spits out people like you because you are uncommon. Rare resources are either utilized or destroyed, and you allowed them to abuse you. You let them suck you dry until nothing remained. Now you're sitting here, empty, wondering why it aches so bad. But isn't that the trick? The biggest fraud of all. They make you feel like it's your responsibility, as if you were the issue, and that if you had been a bit less nice, patient, and trusting, they may have stayed. But that is a falsehood. They would always depart. People who are similar to you do not stay together. They utilize you, take what they need, and then leave without being back. So what did you do? You allowed them, you let them walk away without saying anything. No struggle, no rage, no vengeance, only quiet. And that quiet is killing you. Not them, not what they did, not even their memories. It's your quiet, your reluctance to speak out, fight back, and demand the respect you deserve. You just let them steal bits of you and depart as if you were nothing. Now you're there in the ruins, attempting to put yourself back together with just shattered bits and empty hands. But let me tell you something about folks like us. We do not remain shattered. No, no. We reconstruct. We rise, but not as the idiots we once were. We awaken as something other, colder, sharper. Because once you've seen the truth, experienced betrayal and abandonment, you can't go back to being the person you were before. That individual has died, and perhaps that is a good thing. Perhaps that individual had to die so you could finally see the world for what it is. Because you now understand the game. You understand the rules. More importantly, you understand what happens to those who refuse to play. They are left behind, forgotten. It became little more than a memory that no one cared about in the first place. So, tell me what you plan to do. Are you going to remain here, waiting for an apology that will never come, spending your days hoping that someone, anybody, would return and tell you that you were important? Or are you going to reclaim your life? Let me tell you something. No one will come to help you. No one will stretch out a hand to rescue you out of this. It's only you now. And it is your greatest power. Because when you stop waiting, hoping, and accepting that you are alone, you become untouchable. This is when you stop bleeding. And once you stop bleeding, you cease being prey. Rebuild yourself from the ground up, not as the weak, naive version of yourself that they destroyed, but as something completely different. Make yourself into something they dread and can never hurt again. Because wrath is not the finest form of retaliation. It is not violent. It doesn't even prove them wrong. It's becoming something so far beyond their grasp that they can't possibly imagine the version of you that emerges from the ashes. They expect you to break. They expect you to wither away, slip into the background, and fade into oblivion. They anticipate their absence to be your undoing. They don't expect you to convert that stillness into something unstoppable. They need your anguish. They need your tears, your pain, and your frantic attempts to make them care. However, when you stop giving them that, when you stop reacting, they lose control, they lose their grasp, they lose their influence over you. And it is your best weapon. Stop waiting. Stop the bleeding. Stop becoming the person they've left behind. Begin to become the person they will regret losing. And when that day comes, the day they finally turn around and realize you're no longer where they left you, it's going to hit them hard. Because they assumed you'd always be present, didn't they? They believed they could walk away and return when it was convenient for them, as if your life were an open door waiting for their return. But they don't realize, and never expected, that you've changed. The solitude and nothingness they left you with did not shatter you. It created you. It pushed you to confront the most unpleasant aspects of yourself, the portions that called out for closure, answers, and justice. It made you stand in front of the mirror and face the harsh reality of your own worth. And suddenly, you're no longer the person they left behind. You're no longer yourself. People like them since they don't anticipate to face repercussions. They don't anticipate the individuals they work with to outgrow them. They do not anticipate the ones they rejected to emerge from the ruins stronger than before. No, they anticipate to find the same weak, damaged soul they left behind. They anticipate the same desperate expression in your eyes, the same silent desire for their approval. But what happens when they return, reach out, and attempt to check whether they still have a hold on you? Nothing. No answer. No emotion. Only chilly apathy. And it is what destroys them, because they need you to care. They need you to react. They need to know they still have a hold on you, that a portion of your soul is still attached to their memories. But when they discover nothing, when they realize they no longer live in your thoughts, no longer control your emotions, and no longer have even the tiniest part of you in their clutches, then is when they lose. Because individuals like them are not afraid of losing you. No, they never believe they had to. What they fear is losing control over you. And when that power is gone, when you've transformed yourself into someone impenetrable, someone who doesn't need, desire, or miss them, the true terror sets in. That's when they begin repeating every event, every decision, and every terrible error that brought them to this place. And it will not be a startling insight, a huge awareness of how much they have damaged you. No, this will be selfish. It'll be bitter. It will be the gradual creeping realization that they have lost something significant, something priceless. And the greatest part, it'll be too late, because you don't live in the past anymore. You do not sit around waiting for ghosts to come knocking. You don't spend your breath on those who won't spare a moment of their time for you. Number, you are progressing, building, creating. They would never have imagined themselves becoming anything like this. And they are trapped in the same loop, the same empty, meaningless patterns, constantly seeking a version of you that no longer exists. Is that the actual joke? That they believed they could leave you behind and remain the same, never thinking that you may outgrow them. Never imagined that you would transform that anguish, abandonment, and silence into something unstoppable. But now they see it, and now they are plagued by what they have lost. And that's your win. Not by yelling, taking revenge, or proving them wrong, but by showing yourself correct. They transformed into someone they will never be able to contact again. Standing so far beyond their reach, they understand for the first time that they never truly knew you. Because the person they knew and left behind is no longer alive, and in their place is someone untouchable. In the stillness they left behind, you created something they didn't expect. An intellect too keen to be controlled, a soul too tenacious to be broken, and a heart too damaged to toy with again. And that scares them. Because individuals like them require someone to control. They need someone to feed off of, someone who will keep handing out bits of themselves until nothing remains. But you're done giving. You're done bleeding for those who have never attempted to stop it. Isn't it funny how they didn't see you drowning? But now that you've discovered firm footing and clawed your way out of the debris they left you in, they're suddenly concerned. It's not about you. They are concerned about what they lost, what they let slip through their fingers while they were too preoccupied with things that never mattered. Here's the thing, they won't get another chance. They don't get to come back knocking on your door and pretending nothing occurred. Because while others were wasting time, playing games and treating people as disposable, you were developing, you were learning, you were becoming something far larger than anyone could have predicted. And now they are only a footnote in your tale, a memory of who you once were, a lesson burnt so deeply into your flesh that you will never allow it to happen again. Because this is the distinction between you and them. They demolish and go on, never pausing to consider the damage they've caused. But you took that damage and made something out of it. You grabbed the shattered parts and fashioned them into armor. You converted the stillness they left you with into power. And now you get to choose who has access to you. You are now in charge of the story. And they're the ones left wondering how they lost someone who might have given them everything. Wondering when they changed from being the center of your existence to simply another name. You don't even notice anymore. I'm wondering whether, just maybe, they made the biggest mistake of their lives by deciding you weren't worth preserving. And you won't even bother responding because they expected you to remain hurt, to continue waiting, to remain shattered. But you turned that grief into something fatal. You transformed every betrayal, rejection, every moment of neglect into fuel. And now you're too dazzling for them to look at. And that is justice. Not in the manner they interpret it, not in revenge, not in spite. But there's no denying that you don't need them anymore, that you never actually did. They only ever had control over the version of you that still cared. However, that version no longer exists, and in its stead is someone who no longer has room for their ghosts. That marks the conclusion of their tale in your life. There is no major confrontation. There are no last words. There was no spectacular send-off. Just quiet, cold, relentless quiet. They left you with the same stillness. Now it's their turn to drown in it. And in that quiet, in the chilly emptiness where your presence once was, something changes, but not for you. You have already moved on. you have already turned your back. You've already created a route far enough away from them that they wouldn't recognize you if they tried. No, they experience a change. It creeps in slowly, a whisper at first, a slight tug in the back of their mind, an uneasy feeling they can't shake, a silent, suffocating sensation of loss that gnaws at them when they least expect it, because for the first time, they are compelled to confront themselves. No distractions, no reassurances. There's no comfort in knowing you'll be available when they need you. It was only them and the weight of everything they hadn't expected. At first, they convince themselves that it is nothing. They suppress it, ignore it, and drown it out with noise, people, or anything else that will make them forget. However, they are incapable of forgetting, because you were unlike the others. You were not someone who could be replaced by a poor copy. And as they go further into that revelation, they begin to see it, the moments they never completely appreciated, the generosity they mistaken for weakness, the loyalty they considered as an afterthought. It all plays out in their minds like a never-ending film, a brutal, persistent reminder that what they once took for granted is no longer there. And this time, it's not returning. That's the trouble with folks like them. They seldom realize the importance of their decisions until it's too late. They never consider the possibility that how they treated you had ramifications. That maybe one day you won't have to wait anymore. That perhaps the stillness they once overlooked might one day become deafening. And now they are choking in it. Because every laugh they hear that isn't yours, every discussion where your name is nothing more than a ghostly recollection, every moment they glance around, expecting to see you and find nothing but emptiness, it all hits them like a gradual, harsh reality they can't shake. And you don't even notice. You don't feel the change. You don't feel the weight of their remorse. You don't hear any echoes of their desire. Because you've moved so far past it, it no longer registers. You aren't looking back. You aren't waiting for a reckoning. You are not expecting for an apology. You aren't waiting for a spectacular moment when they understand what they have lost. No, you are too busy building, creating, living, too busy populating your environment with things that complete you, with people who do not make you doubt your value, and with a purpose so powerful that their absence no longer casts a shadow. And it is what kills them the most, not because you are angry, not your hatred, not even your suffering. However, you are not present, your whole unshakable, irrefutable absence, because while you were always prepared to live without them, they were never ready to live without you. And now they're left roaming among the rubble of what they destroyed, looking for a path back into a life that no longer accommodates them. But you keep walking, continue pushing forward, never pause, never hesitate. Never let the ghosts of the past to lure you back into a situation you've already outgrown. Because this is what freedom looks like. Not vengeance, not retribution, just a calm, persistent refusal to give them another piece of you. And that's your win, because in the end, those who believe they could live without you are invariably the ones who discover too late that they never truly could. And in that awareness, in the slow, torturous plunge into the vacuum they created for themselves, they finally comprehend the gravity of their actions. However, it does not come as a major discovery. No. There is no lyrical moment in which they suddenly get a conscience. There is no instantaneous flood of shame that overwhelms them and compels them to change. Number, it's slower than that. More sinister. It sneaks up on them when they least expect it. sneaking through the gaps of their carefully crafted exterior and seeping into areas they never intended to guard. At first, it's only a notion, a fleeting sorrow, a brief, piercing pang that they dismiss without a second thought. But then it begins to linger, it begins to expand, because kids begin to notice things. The stillness that once brought them solace now feels empty. The distractions that formerly kept them entertained now seem unimportant. The individuals they've replaced you with don't quite measure up. The laughing doesn't seem as genuine. The talks do not have the same weight. The link is not there. And gradually, piece by piece, they begin to feel it, that absence, that loss, that painful, stifling knowledge that the one thing they took for granted was the one thing they should have kept on to. But the hardest part, the one that consumes them the most, isn't simply that they lost you. You've never looked back. You never came crawling. That you have never waited. That you never allowed their absence to devour you in the way they expected. No. You continued moving, continued to build. They continued to lose access to what they once had. And that's what breaks them. Because they never expected to miss you. They never imagined you'd truly be gone. But today, every vacant spot in their lives serves as a reminder. Every time they reach for their phone, they pause before dialing your number. Every time they hear your name in passing, they experience a gradual, sinking weight in their chest. Every time they see you prospering, laughing, and living, they know with a heartbreaking certainty that they are no longer a part of that reality. Oh, how it must gnaw at them to know that they once had a place in your life, a space reserved especially for them, and they tossed it away as if it were nothing. To understand that no matter what they do now, no matter how much they wish they could undo the past, they will never be able to. Some mistakes and betrayals are irreversible. Some doors, once closed, will never open again. And yours is locked up because you don't wait for others to recognize your value. You don't sit around hoping they'll wake up sometime and realize what they've lost. You don't squander your time being someone else's regret. You proceed, you ascend. You become something better than they could have anticipated. And them? They remain caught in the wreckage of their own decisions, plagued by the weight of what could have been. And that is justice. Not in the way they had expected, not in rage and revenge, but the silent, indisputable truth is that you will not even give them the satisfaction of knowing they are still there in your thinking. That they are only a shadow, a distant memory, a lesson learned but never repeated. Because in the end, the cruelest punishment is not a meaningless apology. It is not the closure they believe they deserve. No. It finishes in nothingness, the same empty, terrible emptiness they left you with. Only this time, it is not your responsibility to bear. This time, it is theirs. And they'll sit with it. They'll live in it. They will carry it with them in every empty place, every hollow encounter, and every restless night when they look at the ceiling and feel the weight of their own acts weighing down on them like an incurable illness. Because they believed they had eternity. They believed they could come and go as they liked, dip in and out of your life, and keep you there as a safety net, last resort, or backup plan. But individuals like you don't wait indefinitely. You don't dwell in the rubble of the past, longing for something that will never happen. You take what you've learned. You take what you have endured, and you utilize it to create something impenetrable. And now they're the ones left looking, wondering, and hoping for something that no longer exists. They will observe from afar as you forge a new path, as you become untouchable, someone they no longer have access to, And it will be their punishment not because you sought vengeance or played their game, but because you didn't, because you refused to let others define you, because you stopped playing a role in their tale and began crafting your own. One day, oh one day, it will hit them hard, not in a moment of rage, not in a time of sorrow, but in a moment of utter, unmistakable clarity. When they understand they have something genuine, precious, and irreplaceable, let it slide through their fingers. One day, oh one day, it will hit them hard, not in a moment of rage, not in a time of sorrow, but in a moment of utter, unmistakable clarity. When they understand they have something genuine, precious, and irreplaceable, let it slide through their fingers. And the weight of that awareness, the knowing that they will never have another chance, will be the worst burden they will ever bear. But you won't notice, because by then, you'll be so far gone, so far ahead, and so utterly free that their absence will not even be felt as a loss. It will be nothing but a distant echo, a whisper lost in the wind, a lesson learned in the past but never carried forward. Because you're done becoming someone's regret. You've had enough of being an afterthought. You're done being someone's second choice. From now on, you will only move ahead. And no one, not even the ghosts of your past, will ever be able to bring you back.